Welcome to Lerma, everyone. If you're looking for a space to delve into contemporary issues, then this is for you. Leave your worries behind because we're clearing all your doubts. This is your weekly podcast, Tamcast. This is Red Marquez, your local tuned in companion.
Every conversation, all matters are recognized at all costs. It was nice being here with you again this week, bringing you the newest talks. This is Nicole.
I heard that this podcast session will be different and special from all the other episodes we had. Because finally, we have a larger group of guests. Imagine how crowded we are in the studio right now. In this episode, my co host and I would like to talk about an issue. This is stirring up relevant debate in the contemporary scene. This issue pertains to the contrasting viewpoints between boomers versus Gen Z. But before we delve deeper into that, first, hello guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I am Ronier Plamio and I am very excited to you to share my thoughts about the identity politics and the reason behind it.
So, Margaret here. I am very excited to participate in such a conducive environment to discuss anything and everything.
Hey there, it's me, Albi. I'm very much ready to share everything on my plate.
Are radiating so much energy tonight! I can feel the heat of excitement.
Very excited indeed, but before we start, I just want to get to know all of you. Your generation is currently at its peak. When it comes to voicing out their political stances, am I right? Can you share any tidbits about the views and opinions that your generation unanimously agrees on?
I think everyone is familiar with boomers and Generation Z, commonly known as Gen Z. We belong to separate generations. I myself would like to associate with Gen Z, not only because of my birth year, but also because I wholeheartedly agree with everything that concerns my generation.
I've been part of your generation. I would like to ask if you have personally witnessed any unfortunate circumstances which have led you to adhere to what your generation is voicing out.
There are a lot of things that actually occur because of generational gaps, which separate our generation from others. Since our social norms are constantly evolving, the systematic structure of politics it as odds with our generation. In the past, generations have grown up in an environment that had to deal with political allegiances and social power. They had no choice but to adapt to the behavior of their environment. Their survival depended on their efficacy to contribute to politics.
In what ways can generational gaps be alarming? I would like to ask for the opinion of my dearest uncle. Uncle! Ah!
I think the reason why there is such a disparity in opinions is because the current generation is actively against dated stances. This stems from the fact that their social political experiences are different from what we've been through.
Additionally, a study by Geiger mentions a concept called age effects, which states that the differences between younger and older people are largely due to their respective positions in the life cycle. The older generations have a greater amount of life experiences than Generation Z, thus widening the gaps between our generations to theirs.
Uh, Geiger also mentions what he calls period effects. So, in the past, there have been unfortunate or at least pivotal events that the older generations have witnessed. These events pertains to wars, revolutions, social movements, or technological breakthroughs. So this concept justifies that both generations are exposed to different cycles and periods in life. Thus, we cannot expect that either generation will conform to the beliefs of the other.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense, pero I'm just noticing the similarities of the insights from our guest to sino yun? Eric Erickson. Eric Erickson's stages of development.
Exactly. The boomers and Gen Z might not have that much of a difference in stages one to three, or as per Eric Erickson's psychosocial development. Since that would only cover about infancy to preschool years, but stages 4 onwards, I think we can talk about how different the world was back then and how that shapes the disparity of opinions between generations.
Actually, wow, nga eh. Your stance is so on point. I expected all of you to defend your generation, but you had a different approach and understanding of why there is this existing gap. Like, how about you, Nicole?
We all know that there are misunderstandings between both generations. Yet, it is only justifiable. There is this existing theory by Sigmund Freud, which states that human behavior is influenced by unconscious memories, urges.
14 Political Polarization Survey that millennials are indeed the least conscious generations when assessing political values, as cited by Geiger. It is because the accessibility of information at present helps us to be more active against social injustice, whereas our generation is becoming more independent and is more engaged in advocating our beliefs.
It was found on the Pew Research Center's 2014 Political Polarization Survey that millennials are indeed the least conscious generation when accessing political values. As cited by Geiger, 2023, I would, however, want to affirm the fact that Eric Erickson's theory seems like a good consideration when reviewing the disparity between generations.
Generations have developed their respective political identities and beliefs. To varying viewpoints, there is confusion among the masses on which side to agree on. To settle this debate, we must actively listen and respect each other's stances just so we can have a civil discourse on the matter. Circle back to Eric Erickson. I think we can correlate Eric Erickson's stages in a more detailed manner in this issue.
Yeah, doing so might actually lead to an understanding, a middle ground even. A solution to this dilemma may only be possible through understanding other people's background aside from our own.
Agree.
I remember we had the, I think, identity versus confusion in the early stages of adulthood, right? Do you think this is relevant as to why the older generation sees things differently?
On identity versus confusion, I can tell you youngsters something. I've been there, and I really mean no harm in my criticism and counter argument. I just think that as someone who has been through that stage before, it feels surreal that I am now giving advice to the younger generation as their guardian.
Oh, that clarifies things. Sometimes I always wonder why boomers usually feel the need to impose their beliefs and opinion on us. It makes sense now, though you had different intentions, and I was just caught up in my youth to think about that. However, I would like to experience life without a filter. I appreciate the guidance, but how can I know who I am if I don't make decisions for myself? I might make risky decisions, but I at least get to my own risky decisions. Who knows? I might make some good decisions too. I can use a little nudge every once in a while.
I guess I myself can see that my guidance can sometimes be considered as imposing. I realize that I wouldn't want someone else to meddle in my own life during that stage.
Wow, this is such a conductive discourse. Kasi we're clarifying the reasons and the intentions behind the actions of our respective generations.
Agree. There are even some reflections and realizations. I would like to emphasize the importance of identity and confusion. According to Albie, he had a confusing time in his experience of this stage.
Well, I had a lot of experiences. They were mostly unpleasant, but it made me who I am today.
And for our second guest, Mark, she wants to experience life as it is. She wants to experience this so-called life by her own means without going through a cookie cutter process. Na through both of these perspectives, we can see that these respective generations indeed have different opinions, but they correspond together in the end after communicating their intentions properly.
Have a brief summary of what we discussed today since we are nearing the end of our broadcast. So, we've discussed that the differences between generations are caused by various life experiences which occurred throughout different eras of these respective generations. Moreover, we can correlate our experiences to Eric Erickson's psychosocial development stages and Sigmund Freud's theory on the unconscious mind. Overall, we can surmise that these respective generations may be different, but what makes them unique or the same doesn't necessarily mean that they are lesser than the other. What we need to discuss is our own ability to actively listen and participate in respective civil discourse, just to settle the debates which surround our generation's current political stances.
That was shocking. I realized that no generation is misguided. It is just that one has to undergo a different survival period than the other. Thus, the experience and wisdom we had are different from those of the older generations. Nevertheless, our differences in opinions doesn't mean that the other generation is lesser than the other.
That's the spirit of Generation Z and the wisdom of the boomers. Thank you guys for coming here and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having us.
Okay,
It was a greatest pleasure.
you guys are welcome. Nicole?
What's coming into your mind now? Because we're still excited. Your weekly thought and share, Tabcast.
Tune in next week, only here at Lerma.